Hello and welcome to Media MD, your fortnightly Doof Network dose of media that you have somehow missed. I'm Reuben Morehouse.
And I'm Elliot Diebold.
And we are back to talk about Tierzoo. So we talked about this last fortnight, and we would normally start with a little plot summary of the thing that we're talking about, but obviously Tierzoo is a YouTube series, so the plot is a guy uploads YouTube videos.
There's a plot. The plot is real life. Like, it's the plot of the universe.
Well, no, it's not. That doesn't really make sense, but sure. Tierzoo is a YouTube channel where a guy, whose name I think is Tierzoo, uploads videos talking about animals as though they were playable races or classes in a video game. Specifically, the kind of conceit of the show is that he will talk about kind of the stats and abilities that animals have decided to spend their evolution points, which is a mystical currency that all animals spend, I guess. How they've chosen to spend their evolution points and what perks this has given them, and how it affects their ability to play in the real world, basically.
I mean, essentially, it's like a Planet Earth-esque documentary type thing hidden behind a layer of game references to keep it interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Now, there's a fair amount of videos. He's been doing this for a few years, uploading a video maybe every fortnight or, maybe once a month at their slowest, for about, 2 years? 2 or 3 years?
Like that, yeah.
So there's a solid amount of videos, and I watched them all, and it was really fun. This is a weird one to talk about because it's so different to the kind of stuff we would normally talk about, but I really, really enjoyed this YouTube channel, Elliot, and I was a solid subscribe, like 2 or 3 videos in.
I was the same. I think I sort of mentioned in the prescription, I only discovered it fairly recently as well, and it was I just instantly fell in love with it. I think it was somebody in the Doof Discord who actually pointed it out to me. I forget who, so sorry to that person. But yeah, I pretty much instantly subscribed, and then I brought it 2 weeks ago because I was like, I don't know what we can say about this, but it's really fun, and people should check it out.
Yeah, that's enough of a reason, honestly. This show exists to tell people about cool new things. So yeah, describing it as a kind of a lesson in zoology hidden behind a layer of mostly Overwatch or Super Smash Brothers memes. It's on point and it's quite entertaining for me, who is a huge fucking stupid animal lover, but also a video game idiot. It just got to me, Actually, honestly, the thing that I liked the least was probably the sense of humor. I just really liked the style of analyzing that was exemplified in this video. I found it very interesting. Specifically, he talks about things like, you would frame them in video game terminology like matchups between different animals, but really what it means is the interactions between animals in their ecosystems and how they kind of fare against each other and what the relationship between animals is. And it's so fascinating, right?
Yeah, because I just love that stuff. I mean, actually, in the past month since I discovered this show, I've actually signed up for Curiosity Stream, which I'm sure you've seen him mention in a bunch of his, which is basically just like a documentary streaming service that's quite cheap, and because I just love this sort of stuff, and there's something really entertaining about the framing device that this series Tierzoo uses.
Yeah, this is interesting because I've had a similar experience where this is really kind of... I've always loved animals. One of my favorite things is going to zoos in different cities and checking out all the different kinds of animals and stuff. Taronga Zoo, best zoo, changed my view. But, as I've been watching the show...
Wait, have you been to Dubbo?
No. I think you should know I haven't, Elliot. Anyway, this series really did kind of reinvigorate my love of animals to the extent that I've signed up for this app that's like Pokemon Go, but where you track observations of real life animals and plants. It's basically taken up my entire life recently. Side note, if anyone wants to check it out, it's called iNaturalist. Hit me up. I'll totally follow your observations. We can, become co-followers. Yeah, like it is such a, and I think this is one of the best things about it. It's such an approachable way to really show the kind of insane majesty that is the animal kingdom. And I love it for that, you know? It's great.
I think one of the reasons the show really works as something that like I keep coming back to is the variety. The concept of the tier lists was really the foundation of the series.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been afraid to branch out and do lots of other things. So there are videos looking at one specific animal, comparing like comparing like dogs versus cats. There's all sorts of very different types of videos, and it's all really interesting, really educational, all still to do with nature, but just changes it up in a really fun way.
Yeah, I especially love when he will track kind of the evolutionary history of a species or something like that as a point to kind of tell you more about how it's emerged to be how it is today. I would say about a third of his videos are tier lists or videos taking place, maybe not a third, that might be too high, but videos that focus on animals from a time period that isn't now, a lot of dinosaur stuff, obviously, because dinosaurs are pretty inherently fascinating, but also just like time periods that I've forgotten and probably wouldn't be able to pronounce, and the weird kinds of animals that existed then. And it's all interesting in different ways.
Yeah, well, I mean, like for me, those are my favorite types of videos because that's the stuff I grew up on. Like, I think he specifically mentioned in the advertisements at the end of some of the videos that like Walking with Dinosaurs is his favorite documentary of all time. And that was one of the moments for me where I was like, yeah, okay, I love this show because like that's the same. Like he was just speaking my language there, and I think like that does come through in the focus on extinct animals.
Especially and dinosaurs. He does seem to be a big dinosaur fan, which is fine. I mean, I'm not a huge dino fan, but I can appreciate a good dino.
But I watched one fairly recently actually. That was on like the Cambrian expansion. And I think it's actually called the Cambrian explosion, and he calls it the Cambrian expansion. I'm getting real life and the joke of this thing confused.
Yeah.
Like that was just really fun as well. Like just another way of viewing this really ancient sort of time in Earth's history.
Yeah. I kind of want to just talk about some of the really fun things that I've learned. I won't do that because I think that's just us recapping YouTube videos, which you should just go watch the videos if you want that. But there are some really interesting things in there.
They're not that long. They're all like 5 to 10 minutes for the most part.
They're quite easily digestible in different sessions. And I didn't kind of binge this. I wouldn't call that how I watched it. But I would kind of sit down and be like, I'll watch a video or two, and I'd watch it, and then I'd go off and do something else. And before I knew it, I'd watched all the videos because there's only like 60 maybe. There's some really good ones in there. I really liked the raptor tier list video, which is talking about like birds of prey, which I think are very fascinating as a type of animal because they're so specialized to their task. There was a video on the April Fool's cryptid tier list. So
that was fun.
That was fun. Talking about talking about cryptids as though they were real and where they would fit into their various ecosystems was very exciting.
I learned a lot in that one about like the potential origins of a lot of these myths as well.
Yeah,
like there was the jackalope, like the little rabbit with horns, is actually probably just a rabbit that's been infected with this fungus. I was like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it kind of gave me not to mix our shows up here, but it definitely gave me a bit of Deep Impact Monster Corner vibes, kind of scratching that same itch of it's actually really fun to learn about the history of how myths came about. One that I also really liked was a video called Earth's Next Balance Patch, which was talking about what the implications of global warming would be on different ecosystems, framed through a lens of, okay, the global warming update is coming up, and it means that some animals are going to get weaker while others get stronger, which was kind of a horrifying way to frame that, but it did lead to an interesting video once you put aside your kind of ethical qualms with the casualness that this had to be treated with because of the format of the show. I will kind of say I think there are some times where the kind of jokes or memes of the video do get a bit in the way of the knowledge of the video, and I don't know if this is a fair criticism because it is what keeps it different and entertaining, but maybe I'll give an example, which is there's a video called The Time the Earth Glitched, which is about when there was a time in Earth's history, I hadn't heard of this, but it seems cool, where there was basically a high amount of vegetation that led to really high levels of oxygen, which led to all kinds of weird side effects for the kind of climate of the Earth, and the animals that lived in it, right?
Yeah.
Which is an interesting topic for a video, and I found the video very interesting, but there are a few points where he would say things like, he's explaining why vegetation suddenly boomed, and his answer was, oh, the devs made a mistake in tweaking a number, which is, it's a solid joke, but it kind of leaves you a bit empty in terms of actually wanting to understand more about the history behind how this happened and some of this stuff. I don't know, that didn't happen that much, but there were a few times where I was kind of like, no, put aside the joke. I actually want to know what the answer to that question was. Which usually just meant, I gotta go Google it. But he does kind of distill what can be quite dry information into something really easy to understand. And, I kind of missed that when there was a point that he wasn't kind of interested in talking about.
Yeah, no, I agree. There are points where I definitely wish he would nerd out harder, which is a weird thing to say about a zoology crossed with gamer culture, YouTube series. But I wish sometimes he would have leaned harder into the naturalism stuff. I think that's fair.
Yeah,
but that might just be us being super nerds.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think one of the strengths of this is it just makes you excited to learn more about animals, right? Genuinely, I, someone who already kind of likes learning about animals, was excited to dive into it even more. And I see this as a great way to kind of make that approachable for people who are not necessarily, would see themselves as animal lovers. But, this series does point out there are so many interesting historical and biological things to think about in terms of the natural world of animals, in terms of zoology, that it's it really is quite engaging to just have someone nudge that door open for you. And I think that's why this show is so great.
It's so approachable for a lot of people who may not be as inclined to look into this sort of stuff themselves.
Yeah.
And I think the shorter format of the videos is a huge part of that as well, obviously, because I'm a huge fan of things like Planet Earth and stuff, but I don't see as many as I'd like, because I'm not always looking to sit down for an hour to watch that sort of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas, it's very easy to find 5 minutes to learn about birds.
Yeah. Or you get, he'll drop a fact like, he likes talking about the camouflage of octopus and cephalopods a lot, which is a rabbit hole to dive down. Or he'll drop a fact about a dinosaur that, was able to, had developed the ability to hold things, and he says something like, and maybe if they had evolved more, they would be the dominant species like humans are today. And you're just kind of wait, now I need to dive down a rabbit hole and find out more about this specific type of animal. And it's great he sums up a point in a line or two, or a joke line or two, that makes you think, oh shit, that's really interesting and I need to learn more about it. Which is great.
Mm.
So I want to jump into another criticism, which is a bit of a weird one, honestly, and I don't know how valid it is, but I really don't like the style of his ads that he does. I have no problem with sponsored content, # sponsored content, but the way that the ads work in these videos is he'll kind of make a point, and then he'll kind of segue off that point into talking about videos. So he'll say something like, and birds needed to learn how to use their claws to do this. And if you need to learn something, why don't you check out whatever, Curiosity Stream, right? Which is fine, but it leads to this weird feeling of the videos, they don't really have a solid ending. They just kind of peter out and then transition into an ad in a way that I felt made the endings of these videos kind of unsatisfying. I kind of would like the format more if there was a bit of a, round it out at the end, go over the tier list, do a little goodbye, and then, I don't know, transition into an ad, rather than having it be so smooth that it kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's fine, but it just leads to, I don't know, feeling a little hollow at the end of each video, because there's no kind of solid ending point to take it home.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I do agree there's not usually a sense of conclusion at the end of the videos, but on the other hand, I really like this as a clean way to segue into ads, because it feels more natural, and then you do sort of actually feel the interest. You can tell that this guy only does ads for things he's somewhat interested in himself.
Yeah, especially in recent videos where he will basically say, hey, a lot of the clips that I took are from this documentary, which you can find right here, and here's a link to get a discount on it. Like,
Yeah.
that's a very nice integrated funnel for doing an ad. That is like, it's very appealing. Like, it makes a lot of sense, and he clearly cares about this stuff a lot, which makes it work so well.
I mean, like, I'm just sort of comparing in my head, because, like, whenever I see these ads, I'm like, yeah, like, for me, this is the way to do advertisements. But you're right, in Tierzoo, it does sort of seem to come at the cost of a sense of conclusion. Whereas Alt Shift X is another YouTube series I've watched, and that guy sort of does the same sort of thing, where he'll segue straight from talking about Game of Thrones to whatever plug he's doing. Like, for instance, he's often sponsored by Audible, so he'll be talking about Game of Thrones, and then he'll sort of say, oh, you know, and if you're sad that the show's over, head on over to Audible and blah, blah, blah. But he does do that after a bit of a conclusion.
Yeah.
So it's sort of the best of both worlds, I think, in that situation.
Yeah. I don't know. This feels like a weird criticism by me, but I do think it impacted my enjoyment of the videos, because I really love the videos as they're going, and then you sit up. Basically, you kind of are left with not having a solid conclusion, and you're just kind of like, oh, okay. It doesn't put it into a box in your mind. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I do sort of get the sense from a lot of these videos that they're just sort of information dumps on a topic. There isn't really a cohesive message or takeaway or something. And so I think that's maybe part of it is, you know, it's just sort of throwing all the information at you, and then it's like, okay, and wait, that's the end of the information, so here's an ad.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to... I really did like this series a lot. I don't think this criticism is worth the amount of airtime that it's got, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's not that much to say about it, honestly, without just kind of recapping each of the videos, because they all are very interesting. It was very few that I actually didn't find myself quite engaged with. Probably the ones I was least engaged with were the dinosaur ones, but even those were quite interesting, right?
Yeah.
And it's weird because I know I have to give this a score, but it's kind of hard to compare this to something like one of my favorite recommendations from the show, which is The Good Wife, which is a show that I absolutely love, but that's, you know, it's a drama and you watch it and you follow a plot, where this isn't that.
Reuben, don't try to start poking holes in our out of 10 system.
Yeah, no, sorry. Review scores are a flawless system, and everyone knows that. I don't know, like, the amount of enjoyment I got from this relative to the format that it is, it's very high, and so I'm going to give it a high score, and I'm going to give it I think a 9. Like, I really, really enjoyed this series, just because it sparked so much love of animals, and, like, I would be messaging my girlfriend just random facts about animals that I had seen, and it's just so fun. It's just so much fun.
So would she give the series, like, a terrible score?
Yeah, she'd give it a low score. No, these were fun facts. I mean, I think they were fun facts. I don't know. So yeah, a 9 out of 10? Yeah, why not? Great. Cool. It's a great thing, and it's so easy to get into. Like, obviously, it's going to be linked in the show notes down below, so go and check out a video. I'll probably link one or two of my favorites. Go and check them out, and have a good time.
Yeah, it's a fun series.
Speaking of fun series, I'm going to bring you something this fortnight, Elliot. It's a series, a Netflix TV show called Derry Girls. Derry as in Derry, the second largest city in Ireland, Derry.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm sure you can imagine what it's about. No, here's the pitch for this show, I think. It's, you know, the In-Betweeners?
Yes, I'm familiar. I love the In-Betweeners. I saw some the other day. I hadn't seen it for years, and it came on, and I'd forgotten just how much you want to curl up in a ball and die every second that it's on. It's fantastic.
It's interesting. So I remember being really into the In-Betweeners when it came out, and I would have been, like 17, 18 maybe when it came out? I'm not quite sure, but it was from a while ago. And I remember they did some movies as well. Yeah, right. And the sigh in your voice tells me that you had the same experience, where I really liked The In-Betweeners when it came out, but I was a teenage boy, and that was a show that very much, I think, is only funny to teenage boys. Because I had gone back, I'd watched the movie, and you know, it was fine. The first movie was fine, and the second movie was absolutely terrible. And I went back and I watched some more of the In-Betweeners, and I was like, this show just doesn't, like, it's just not that great, objectively. So this leads us to Dairy Girls, because Dairy Girls to me is what the In-Betweeners would be like if it was, like, good, like, really good, like, actually, like, really, really good. Dairy Girls is a show about four like teenaged girls in Derry set during the Troubles. So it's, well, four girls and one, the cousin of one of the girls who is a boy from England who comes and is mercilessly bullied by all the girls in the girls' school that he is forced to attend. And it's just a great show. Like, so I this isn't the kind of show that I would normally get into, but my girlfriend again kind of recommended it to me, and I just kind of fell in love with it. Like, it's a hilarious show. The main characters are all so compelling, and it kind of gives me that feeling of what In-Betweeners gave me when I actually liked that show. Like, I'm like, oh, this is actually really funny and a little bit rude sometimes, but just like genuinely compelling to watch these four girls and one boy kind of struggle with growing up in Ireland during the Troubles, but also they're facing like everyday high school problems.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's a weird show, but it's very, very funny, and it gives me this very like, I wouldn't say it's a show that's like super full of heart, but it's definitely one where you just kind of feel cozy while you're watching it, I guess I would say. It just kind of is a show that warms you up while you watch it, even though objectively, bad things that happen to these girls, like they always are kind of dealing with being quite awkward and terrible at navigating social situations, which is where most of the plots from the show come from. But yeah, it's just a really fun show, and it's on Netflix, so check it out there. It's got 2 seasons now. Basically, as soon as its first season finished, it was renewed for a second season because people loved it. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be more. But yeah, it's just a fun, all-rounder, fun, great show.
I mean, I assume it's made in Britain.
Yes, it's definitely got that kind of British sense of humour,
Yeah, okay.
Or Irish sense of humour, I don't know, whatever. UK sense of humour. Yeah, and I think it's a good pick for this show because I actually don't think it's got that much like buzz outside of the kind of people who would normally watch it, and like it's genuinely just such a well-made show. Like, I found it so compelling that I just want to share the love of this show that I really feel like not enough people know about. So, Dairy Girls, go watch it and enjoy it.
I hadn't heard of it, and I'm just sort of Googling it now, and I don't think I've ever come across talk of this. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's made surprisingly little waves for a show that is very, very well received. Like, it's got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got a pretty high IMDb rating. It's like actually genuinely a very well made show that just hasn't seemed to get any attention.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty excited to check this out. My expectations going in are pretty high. I'm excited.
Good on you. Yeah, so check it out and enjoy, and we'll be back in a fortnight to talk about it, I suppose.
Yeah.
That brings us to the end of our episode talking about Tierzoo. Come back next fortnight, we'll be talking about Dairy Girls, but if you can't wait, that's okay. You can send us your thoughts on Dairy Girls immediately via email. Send us an email at mediamdpodcast, or we have a new voicemail system. If you go to mediamdpodcast.com. Is that our website? I've forgotten it now.
Yes.
Yeah, mediamdpodcast.com. There's a little send voicemail button that you can click and send us your thoughts on the show via your voicemail.
Yes. And of course, the other place you can very often find us is on the Doof Media Discord.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to get access to that and you don't already have it, head over to patreon.com/doofmedia. The Discord is one of the $1 tier rewards for Patreoning Doof, and you get a bunch of other cool rewards as well. It's all on that page, so go there and check it out.
Yeah, to head to the Patreon, you can support all of the great shows on Doof Media. Our other show, Deep Impact, is also a Doof Media show, so check that out if you'd like. Or my personal favourite Doof Media show, which is What You Say, an OC discussion podcast. And I have not been rewatching the OC, but I have been greatly enjoying their discussion of it. So don't feel like you need to know about the OC to go check it out, because I don't think you do. It's just a great time.
No, I made the conscious effort not to watch the show because I think Scott and Elisa's bastardized summary of the episodes is more entertaining than the show could possibly be.
Yeah, definitely. So to find all of the things we just talked about, including all the other shows on the Doof Media Network, you can head to doofmedia.com. So you can send us your thoughts, you can check out the Patreon, you can check out the other shows. Oh, and you can find all of the clues for the MediaMD ARG. You can help us figure out just who is Dr. MD and why are his pigs so low tier. Elliot, why don't you tell the listeners this fortnight's clue?
Plug.
And we'll see you next fortnight.